On today's primetime local news, City Council suspends public access to recreation and culture facilities in a move to implement social distancing due to COVID-19. How a local senior's home is taking measures to keep the elderly safe from the coronavirus.
We are not letting residents out unless it's an absolute essential that they go.
Plus, the City Council list of temporary closures and those that are remaining open in the border city.
So on Sunday, we did choose to close recreational facilities.
Prime time local news, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
The Saskatchewan government has announced that all pre-K to 12 schools will be suspended indefinitely. Lloydminster schools were closed as of today. Every grade 12 student who is eligible to graduate will graduate this year. The Ministry of Education and school divisions will work with universities to adapt new entry requirements for the next school year. There will be plans to implement a curriculum program through distance and alternative learning methods and will have no impact on their final grade. More information is available on our Primetime Local News Facebook page. The city took steps to curb the spread of COVID-19 over the weekend, including closing recreational and cultural centers. RJ Smacky spoke to Jordan Newton, the manager of emergency operations for the city of Lloydminster today, to learn more about the city's reaction to the virus.
All right, so I'm joined here with Jordan Newton. He's the manager of emergency operations for the city of Lloydminster. It's great to have you with us, Jordan.
Oh, thank you for having me.
And so I just want to start off today with over on Sunday, you guys made the difficult decision to close down some rec centers and cultural centers here in the city. Can you just talk to me a little bit about that?
Yeah, with the recent developments that have happened across both provinces, Alberta and Saskatchewan, the city is taking a leadership and proactive step in following our provincial authorities. So on Sunday, we did choose to close recreational facilities, and that was in conjunction with the recommendation and social distancing and things like that.
And so how hard was it for the city to make the decision to close those centers?
It was a difficult decision, but really what we're doing is just following our provincial guidelines and the recommendations from the provincial authorities. They're the experts when it comes to the virus, and we're just assisting our health authority in whatever way we can.
And now the city, what's kind of going on when it comes to the city with, I know this is a fast-moving process. Are you guys having regular meetings?
Yeah, absolutely. So there is a team in the city that is dealing with all the changes that have been happening, and we have been working through the weekend in support of the changes. So one of those things that you did see from the team was the closure of the recreation facility.
And what would be the city's message to residents who are probably concerned right now, and what would your guys' message be?
Just remember the risk to Albertans and people from Saskatchewan still remains low for catching the virus, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't take proactive steps in keeping our healthy. That includes just good hygiene practices that we do already. So washing our hands, if you are sick, stay home. We also want to recommend any citizens, if they want any extra information, to go to the City of Lloydminster website. We are going to regularly update it with all the information they need.
And Lloydminster has a unique situation of being on the border between Alberta and Saskatchewan. Has it posed any more challenges to you guys, having to deal with two different provinces and two health authorities?
Absolutely. There is always a unique perspective when you work with two provincial authorities, but sometimes it does also provide us with more information, both from Alberta and Saskatchewan. So we are working through, and we get 2 updates a day from both Saskatchewan and Alberta. So we're just working through it.
And when we're talking about that team that the city has assembled, who's on that team?
We have a list of managers throughout the city that come and go, and they get to bring their expertise to help us out in managing all of the things. So it's a revolving list, and some days it's big and some days it's small.
And when it comes to here in Lloydminster, how prepared is the city and kind of the health system here in case there are cases here, or just dealing with influx of people who are coming with concerns?
Yeah, rest assured for everyone in Lloydminster that both the city and our health authority are prepared to deal if there is ever an outbreak in the city of Lloydminster. There is a lot of planning being done on both sides, and both your city and health authority are in constant connection.
And when it comes to employees of the city, workers, what kind of steps are you guys putting into place to help keep them kind of distanced and to help keep employees of the city safe?
Yeah, so we are following the social distancing practices that are coming out from all health authorities as well as the federal government. So we'll be looking at alternative working arrangements, and throughout city facilities, you are going to notice some differences because they do still remain open to the public, our City Hall and Operations Center and our RCMP detachment right now, but you might notice some changes, including signage, sanitizing stations, and removal of common touch points.
And like you mentioned, City Hall is still, for now, open to the public, but you guys are encouraging people to kind of use the virtual City Hall. Can you just talk a little bit about what kind of things people are able to do on the virtual City Hall and how maybe they'll be able to do things from home without having to venture out to City Hall?
Yeah, so we are going to be taking proactive steps to get a lot of different pieces onto our online system. One of the biggest ones is your billing. So you can pay a lot of your water bills or anything to the city online.
All right, and just before we go today, the Prime Minister is kind of restricting international travel to certain 4 airports in the country, and there's, things are going to be changing, but how are these kind of changes going to be impacting the city of Lloydminster?
Yeah, so the federal government has just announced some changes this morning, as well as just before I came into this interview, changes to the border and restricting the border. We are unsure of what the impacts will be in terms of our supply chain management, but the city will be looking into it and assessing.
All right, thank you so much, Jordan. Jordan Newton is the manager of our emergency operations for the city of Lloydminster.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
The City of Lloydminster has suspended public access to all recreational and cultural facilities as a move to the social distancing directed by provincial health officials. The temporary suspension begins today until further notice. The closures include BioClean Aquatic Centre, the Lloydminster Cultural and Science Centre, the Public Library, and a few other facilities listed below. The facilities that will remain open are Lloydminster RCMP Detachment, the Lloydminster Operations Centre, and of course the City Hall.
Yeah, absolutely. So there is a team in the city that is dealing with all the changes that have been happening, and we have been working through the weekend in support of the changes. So one of those things that you did see from the team was the closure of the recreation facility.
And other buildings like the Fit for Less have decided to close all their locations in Canada for now due to safety issues. To find out an up-to-date information on closures due to COVID-19 in our city, you can check out lloydminster.ca/COVID-19. Another place that is choosing to close their doors over safety concerns is the Pioneer Lodge. And as our Jasmine King tells us, with the amount of elderly people there, they want to make sure their residents stay safe.
Although senior lodges around Alberta aren't officially locked down, Pioneer Lodge wanted to take those early steps to avoid the coronavirus.
We do not have sickness in the lodge. We've put ourselves on what we dub an outbreak procedure. We are not letting residents out unless it's an absolute essential that they go, and we're certainly not opening the doors and letting family and loved ones in.
They wanted to take precautions as the virus could be more harmful on those with weakened immune systems.
To seniors, it is a very serious virus. It is just a virus. It's very much like a common cold or flu, but it's something that we haven't had in humans before, and therefore none of us has any immunity against it to help fight it.
Other measures they are taking are not allowing many visitors, placing more hand sanitizer around the building, and more.
Taken our wonderful atrium area that has always been for coffee and put it in 2 different locations so we can keep the meeting sizes smaller. That also gave us the opportunity to expand our dining room and put more spaces between the tables.
The support they've received from the community so far has been great, including a post on Facebook this weekend.
Someone had posted on Facebook that Pioneer was short of toilet paper. To date, we aren't, but it was so heartwarming as staff to see the support this community has for Pioneer. We've had people pull up with product and just said, here, take it. We've had people calling saying, what can I bring? And that's just wonderful.
Jasmine King, Primetime Local News.
And now I look at your evening weather with our Jasmine King.
Taking a current look at your current day forecast, we are at -5 degrees, and with the wind chill, that 24-kilometer wind, we are at -12 degrees. And now looking around the region, Vermilion is at -3, as well as St. Paul and Bonnyville and Pierceland are both at 0 degrees, and Cold Lake and Lac La Biche are both at +1. And as we look at the Saskatchewan side, Green Lake and St. Walburg are at -4 degrees. Isla Crosse is at -9, and North Battleford is at -2, and Macklin is still sitting at a +2 degrees. And looking at your satellite radar, now we didn't see too much here in the border city today, but Edmonton and Vegreville did see that, and we can see it's moving across, so we may be hit, and Marwayne may be hit with that later on tonight. And up in Cold Lake, there also was a little bit of that precipitation. And as we look currently in Cold Lake, we are at 1 degrees, and overnight we will be getting down to -11 degrees, and tomorrow getting to -5. And as we look at North Battleford, again, they are currently at -2, getting colder overnight. They'll have a little bit of that stronger wind presence at -14 degrees, and then tomorrow they will be at -5. And looking at your 3-day forecast, tomorrow it will be -5 here in the border city with that low of -11 degrees, and with the wind chill getting up to -19 degrees. And as we look at Wednesday, that high of -8, so we will be getting colder, and the wind chill at -23. And as we move on to Thursday, as we move further along in this week is where we will be getting colder each day, and Thursday will be at -10, and with that wind chill getting to -28 degrees, so we will be close to that -30 degree range with that wind again on Thursday. But that is a look at your 3-day forecast, and we'll have more news coming up after the break.
Welcome back. In this week's retrospect, a local school held a readathon and local churches gather for World Prayer Day. Here's our Blake Nath with more.
This week in retrospect. Back in 2002, E.H. Walter School held its 3rd annual readathon to celebrate literacy.
It's the 3rd consecutive year E.H. Walter School is celebrating freedom to read by holding a readathon. Parents, teachers, members of the community, and guest speakers were invited to read to students throughout the day.
The kids are just really enthused about it. They've brought their blankets and their pillows and the books that they want to read from home, and they've been listening to guest speakers who are reading to them. And we want to expose them to a wide variety of books that they wouldn't usually choose for themselves, just to broaden their horizons and reinforce the life skill of reading.
The purpose of this week encourages Canadians to think about and reaffirm their commitment to intellectual freedom, which many countries are without.
And 5 local churches gather to pray during World Prayer Day.
A local church is reconciling with faiths around the world through prayer.
Today is the World Day of Prayer, and it's a very special day where different churches come together to celebrate their faith. It was started in 1922 by the women of Canada and the United States.
This traditional celebration unites 5 different churches within the community, as well as others around the world. St. Anthony's Roman Catholic Church is welcoming residents for their 6th year.
It gives us an opportunity to pray together and to socialize. It supports social justice and women's issues in the world.
And that's it for this week's retrospect.
Retrospect this week is brought to you by Webb's Ford. Worth your while to drive the extra mile. Webb's Ford in Vermilion.
And now here are your stock market prices for today.
First General Services. When you require prompt emergency service, the first F word that should come to your mind should be First General Services.
Thanks, Judy. Looking at the current temperatures here in the border city, we still are sitting at -5 degrees, and overnight we will be getting to -11, and then tomorrow we will be at -5 degrees. Now looking at temperatures more across Alberta, Athabasca and Cold Lake are both at 1 degrees. Whitecourt is at 6 and Edson at 7, and Jasper's warming up to 9 degrees. And as we look at the Saskatchewan side, Prince Albert is at -1, Meadow Lake is at -3, and North Battleford is at -2, and Saskatoon is at -4. And as we look tomorrow around the region, Meadow Lake and Green Lake will both be sitting at -7 degrees. Isle La Crosse will be getting to -10, and North Battleford and Maidstone will both be at -5 degrees, and St. Walburg will be at -6. And here on the Alberta side, Vegreville and Vermilion will be at -5. St. Paul and Marwayne will be at -6, and then Bonnyville and Cold Lake will both be at -5 degrees tomorrow. And now as we look overnight at a few places across the region, Meadow Lake will be at -14 degrees, Bonnyville will be at -10, and Provost will be at -13. Pearceland, Paradise Hill, and Mirnam will all be getting to that -11 degree range. Isle La Crosse will be getting to -17, so they are looking like they will be one of the colder places across the region. Unity will be at -14, and Wainwright will be getting down to -13 degrees. And as we look at the national forecast, Vancouver is one of the warmest places in the country at 9 degrees, Whitehorse at 3, and Yellowknife and Iqaluit are still in those colder temperatures, Yellowknife at -20 and Iqaluit at -15 degrees. And now as we look at the east coast, they are colder than we are seeing here in Lloydminster and around Alberta and Saskatchewan. St. John's at -9 and Halifax at -5 degrees, and Quebec City is at -4. And as we look at your 7-day forecast for the rest of the week, tomorrow will be at -5 degrees, and Wednesday will be getting down to -8, and Thursday will be at -10, and that will be looking like it will be one of the coldest days of the week. Friday will be at -8, and as we head into the weekend and the start of next week, we will be getting warmer, starting at Saturday at -2, and Sunday at -1 degrees, and Monday at -2 again as Saturday. But we will be seeing that mix of sun and cloud throughout. But that is a look at your 7-day forecast, and we'll have more news coming up after the break.
With COVID-19, of course, social distancing is the new thing that everybody has to do now. And the question was, how are you social distancing yourself while you're here in Lloyd? I think a lot of people are saying that they're staying home, they're playing cards, they're doing a whole bunch of stuff, but it's the other people that we're concerned about in terms of the, not restaurants, but grocery stores and other things, right?
Yeah, we got a few comments on our Facebook when we asked for everyone's opinion, and they said that they are retail workers, and with this, they want to take more precaution, avoiding touching money that, because money can be really dirty in general, so they're touching money, they're interacting with customers, and as much as they want to try and social distance, they can't always do that with their job.
Yeah, and it's hard with that kind of stuff because I think that, like I said earlier, they should give them some gloves, they should do masking, and we'll be fine to watch them do that kind of stuff. I think it's protecting them, it's protecting the public, but unfortunately that's what's happening is like they can't really isolate themselves, right? And they could catch it there and then take it home and and it keeps going. So they should do something, but we still need groceries.
Yes,
right?
And especially in this time, people are getting groceries more than usual because they need those supplies, just in case. So I think having those workers that may be wearing gloves, I don't think anyone would be opposed to that, really.
Yeah, for sure. And I think with the grocery stuff as well, I think people should take it easy. Don't be, buying it like the toilet papers and stuff like that, right? Because I think people go crazy trying to fill the fridge and fill everything, but relax. It's
Yeah.
all good. We still have
I
food.
don't know about the toilet paper
Yeah.
as much, but yeah.
That was weird. Nothing happens with toilet papers, right? I
Yeah.
mean, it's not part of the coronavirus symptoms, right? Anyway, but that's the way people are. Let's go to pets. Thanks for sending your pet pics for a chance to win a gift card from the Pet Pad.
We want to see your pets. Send photos of your pet and their name to our Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram to have them featured on Pet of the Day. Your name will be entered into a weekly draw for a gift certificate from the Pet Pad.
I'm joined here with Connor Chan, and today we are going to be talking sports. Eric and Evan aren't here, so we are going to be filling in. And with the coronavirus now, there's not a lot of sports that are happening, but a lot of it is what is being suspended, such as the NHL, which announced last week that they will be suspending their season.
Yeah, and of course they did release a statement today. They're kind of easing up a little bit on their protocol. So players who are not from that city that they are playing for are able to go home, as well as people who play or from Europe are also allowed to go home as well. They also are minimalizing, interactions with players. I know it's hard for hockey players because they spend a lot of their time together, and mainly just athletes in general. One thing too is they're going to give it that 2-week period and then see how they are, and then they're going to do small group intervals in their training facilities and talk with team physicians, make sure they're okay and healthy to go, as well as the Canadian Hockey League and the other leagues as well, AHL, East Coast League as well. They suspended their seasons, and then of course the Junior A League, which is the league the Bobcats play in, they suspended their whole season. It canceled it altogether. So it's unfortunate for teams like Sherwood Park that have had such a great year and now have to give it up because of the coronavirus as well. And of course the Memorial Cup, which is one of the big events for the Canadian Hockey League, doesn't happen until end of May. They said it's still ongoing, so we'll see what happens. And of course the NBA was the first to report that the league was suspended its season. Of course the G League as well.
Yeah, the NBA came out last week and, they announced that 3 of their players actually did have coronavirus, Rudy Gobert being one of those who was the first one tested on the Utah Jazz. And that really sparked off suspending the rest of the season as they didn't want any more spreading to the fans, to the other players. And then Jazz teammate Donovan Mitchell also tested positive. And then one player on the Detroit Pistons tested positive as well. But a lot of people are it's up in the air for when the season will come back. But it is still delayed for 30 days. But another league that will be canceling and suspending their season, not canceling but suspending, is actually the MLB, who will be delaying their season.
Yeah, of course it was announced that spring training was suspended, and of course opening day, which usually is in April, is now pushed in towards May. So, and of course if it does continue to go on, the question is and for as well as the other leagues, is how do you pick up your season from where it left off? With the NHL it's a little different, of course the NBA as well. The NFL of course has that little break because free agency is opening up, which we're going to talk about a little bit more later on. But with the MLB, I know obviously a lot of baseball fans are going to be very, very disappointed because I know they like watching the spring training. They like seeing all the young guys, all the draft picks come out, as well as other things that are canceled. The NFL mentioned that they are still going to have their draft, but it's not going to be available to the public. So I know it's a big public event for the NFL. And of course, the CFL is suspending all the combines, both locally and nationally, which is unfortunate because there's a lot of good talent out for the CFL draft this year for those teams as well. And of course, another thing as well with that, I did watch an interview with that Jazz player that was infected with coronavirus. He said he wasn't feeling symptoms, but that's another big thing, is that a lot of players, they're not feeling the symptoms, but they are still expected though to make a full recovery if they do have it though.
Yes, Donovan Mitchell, one of those players, was not feeling any symptoms, and he did figure out that he did have coronavirus. And now there also is a Yankees minor league player who did test positive for coronavirus. So with them, there's so many players in an organization in the MLB, starting from A to AA and on. So I think it's good that they're suspending their season, and even you don't want the fans to get infected, or either each league of the MLB, you don't want those players or anything like that to happen. And that's another reason why the G League might even cancel their season, because it is a minor league, but it still helps out the NBA, but it's not as important as, say, the NBA, who, their finals, their playoffs are going to be starting in the next few months.
And of course with the NHL as well, like teams that have, like the Oilers, for example, who have had such a great year and are looking to get back to the playoffs, if the NHL did make that decision to cancel their season, it'd be unfortunate for a lot of Oiler fans out there who have waited so long. But I know that the Tampa Bay Lightning, they did follow kind of the Utah Jazz in terms of where they were traveling. They were kind of following suit. They were also very concerned about that. There were a number of teams in that league that were concerned that they may have contracted. Of course, every league is now taking precaution when it comes to this because, like you said, it's the health and safety that is most important. Of course, it'd feel weird for a lot of players have said, even not just in the NHL, but the NBA and other leagues said it'd be weird to play in an empty stadium with no fans cheering and nothing really, because I feel like that would be pretty awkward though for everyone to have that.
Yeah, I agree. And, I think also, just like we said, precaution is the main thing. And, like, players like LeBron James saying they don't want to play without fans. But, when certain things come into aspects like coronavirus, you don't really want to test it out too far. But like you mentioned, as an Oilers fan, I will be sad if there isn't any playoffs. But we will have more sports chat coming up after the break. I'm joined here with Connor Chan once again to talk about the sports world. And now there's not a lot happening in a lot of the sports world right now with the suspension with coronavirus. But one thing that is the league that is still pushing on is the NFL. As you said, they have been going crazy, and they just announced the new CBA.
Yeah, so the new CBA was decided late last night. So of course there's a lot of things that are on there. So it's going to be, they're looking at the 17-game season, which may start in 2021. They're also expanding the playoff format for this coming season as well as the league shared revenue for players is up 1.5%, so that goes from 47 to 48.5, as well as a minimum salary bump for those players making minimum salary. They're going to get an extra $100,000 in a salary raise there. Practice rosters, there's going to be 2 more roster spots open from 53 to 55, and on active rosters from 46 to 48 on game days, so that creates a lot more jobs for some players as well. And of course, like I did mention earlier, that the NFL draft is still looking to happen, but of course it's not going to be for the public. It's going to be just kept within the internal NFL, because I know a lot of fans love that, especially when they hear those certain names picked, like number 1s overall. They like either cheering or they like booing. And of course, free agency is coming up within the next couple of days, and a lot of the big names are out there. And one big name that's not on there is Ryan Tannehill, who was the comeback player of the year, who signed a 4-year, $118 million contract. And of course, they were looking at Tom Brady possibly for a destination for him, but now that Tennessee has secured Ryan Tannehill, Tom Brady is going to have some other options possibly in the next couple of days.
And another thing that the NFL did announce is that they will allow players to smoke marijuana, which I think a lot in this league, in this kind of day and age, a lot of players around each sports league take more to that. So I think that's a really good thing that they are implementing, because they shouldn't really be, victimized about that. But another big trade happened today in the NFL.
Yes, there was a big trade between the Texans and the Cardinals, and that was for David Johnson and DeAndre Hopkins, who is, of course, one of the best receivers in the league. He's going to Arizona. He'll help Kyler Murray there with that offense there. And of course, Houston's getting a running back. They didn't have a lot of that last season, so they're getting a lot of help there. A lot of people are saying that was a quote-unquote steal of a deal for the Cardinals and Texans as well. It was a pretty big trade. And of course, like we mentioned, that there is a lot of hype up to free agency. I know that's the big thing that's on everybody's mind. And of course, it's this year. It's where's Tom Brady going to go? Because there's a lot of good QBs still out there. Phillip Rivers is out there. Dak Prescott still possibly could be going. Jameson Winston is going. And a lot of people are saying that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers could be a destination for Tom Brady, even though Jameson Winston did lead the league in a few categories. He also led them in interceptions, but there is a few options out there for many teams that are looking for a quarterback and are looking to maybe improve on what they have. So it's going to be a great free agent market for sure this year.
Oh, definitely. And now kind of moving on from the NFL, a lot of teams, since they aren't playing, have decided to come up with different measures to make the fans happy. It's that certain teams in like the NBA, the Phoenix Suns, have been streaming their games. They've been playing esports. They've been streaming NBA and playing their games for their fans. So I think, and a lot of players have been streaming, playing Call of Duty, playing video games. So I think that's a great way for them to also show their fans that they still care for them. And even though they might not be playing right now, it's a good way to interact with them.
Oh yeah, I've seen a lot of guys who play. There's a Twitch Rivals tournament with a lot of top Fortnite players playing with top NFL players as well. Those NFL players have a lot of talent on esports as well. I've seen like Kyler Murray play. Took out some of the best Fortnite players. Juju Smith from the Pittsburgh Steelers as well is another one. Mike Evans from Tampa Bay, and then of course there are some NHL guys as well. JT Brown from plays Fortnite. He played in the Pro-Am, and then there's some NBA guys as well, like DeAndre Drummond as well, and then of course Reggie Smith was another one. There's a lot of guys that make it entertaining, like you said, and I think it's kind of unique to see that, because I've never actually kind of heard that until you brought it up recently just before we started. I think it's pretty cool because, it shows their personality a little bit more because, there are some guys that, you may not see a whole lot of on, whether they don't get a lot of playing time, but then of course when they do esports, stuff like that, they're streaming, whether it's whether it's NBA, Call of Duty, or any other kind of video game out there. It's just a lot of fun for them to interact with their fans as well.
Yeah, I have to agree. And I know there's also things about the NBA and with the NHL, they've been mentioning, they are delaying their seasons for longer. And, you might not see the NBA championships now until maybe mid-August. So a lot of people were mentioning about maybe a potential new schedule for the seasons. If the NBA championship doesn't start till August, potentially moving the start of the season until Christmas. So I think with this delay, even though it is sad that we aren't getting sports with all the things that are happening with coronavirus, there could be potential new opportunities that could come in a new season and schedule because of this. It's
just going to be interesting to see how it works for certain leagues, especially mainly the NHL as well. But I guess it's all kind of a wait and see at this point.
Yes, exactly. Well, we're going to have more primetime local news.